Well, they're there when you need them, no questions asked. But our area firefighters are running into a problem: aging and outdated equipment. And it could affect, eventually, how they save your life. I investigate this growing issue, talking to a local fire crew and a Vermont senator's office about what the solutions are. For 29-year volunteer Peter Heffernan, being part of the Bristol Fire Department is a family affair.
My father was a firefighter, my uncle was a firefighter.
But times have changed drastically since then. And he says firefighters are having a hard time keeping up with an ever-increasing price tag to replace gear.
NFPA, for safety reasons, changes the standard. It's around $2,000 for a set of turnout gear now. The new air packs that we are looking for are $6,300 a piece.
Just to replace all of the equipment that goes along with an SCBA unit, you're talking the mask, the cylinder, and the frame, that costs about $8,000. Bristol's Chief Brett LaRose has just applied for an Assistance to Firefighters grant for $140,000 to replace 17 units, 18 cylinders, and 22 masks.
We have applied for the AFG grant over the years and have not been successful. It's a big challenge for these small communities, who we're all strapped, we're all, struggling to come up with that type of money for what is really a life-saving piece of equipment.
Your air cylinder, which holds your air.
Right now, his 33-member crew is down 2 SCBA units.
We have 2 SCBA units that meet that 1992 standard. We actually pulled those out of service, and our newest air pack meets the 2007 NFPA standard. And as long as these units continue to pass what we call an annual flow test, we can continue to utilize them.
Are the constantly changing regulations from the NFPA difficult for smaller rural volunteer fire departments to be able to keep up with?
Yes, they are.
I brought this concern to Senator Bernie Sanders' office.
They are there when we call for fire protection.
On his behalf, staffer Haley Perro sent me the following statement. Senator Sanders understands that rural and low-income towns simply can't afford the cost of upgrading critically important equipment, and he has long advocated for increased funding for the federal programs that provide assistance to both career and volunteer fire departments. Our office, in coordination with Senator Leahy's and Representative Welch's office, helps disseminate information about these grant programs to Vermont fire departments and EMS agencies. We also let those agencies know when FEMA is holding workshops or webinars on applying, and we regularly write letters to FEMA in support of applications submitted from Vermont.
There's lights in here that illuminate.
But applying for a grant, Heffernan says, is part of the problem.
They're very specific about what they want. If you don't follow the narrative and the narrative isn't the way they want it, that grant gets rejected.
And at the end of the day, if aging gear falls further behind the most up-to-date standards, it's your life and theirs that could be at risk.
There's nothing any more frightening than being inside one of these, a smoke-filled environment, and all of a sudden you go to take a breath and there's no air.
Megan Carpenter, Local 44 News, Bristol. Chief LaRose says if approved, the grant will fund 95% of the cost to replace those air packs. Taxpayers foot the bill for 5%. So it'll cost $165,000 total, which, if the grant request is denied again, the department luckily will have that money set aside in its capital budget for 2020.